Okay, so let me tell you, I'm sitting in a house in Florida with a very bad earpiece that they gave me, and you could hardly hear what he was saying. But what I heard was various groups, and I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference, CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke. And I have no problem with disavowing groups, but I'd at least like to know who they are.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're still talking about that, yes, and joining us now is Daniel Henninger, of course, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist and columnist with the Wall Street Journal. Hello, sir.
Hi there, Steve. How you doing?
It's always great to talk to you, sir. Welcome back. All right, that's the excuse, okay? That's the excuse. Do you buy it?
No, I don't buy it. It's kind of a hard sell. It was a very politic answer. It was a little bit difficult to follow it. But, you get into this is the thing about politics. If you're going to get into it at this level, you always bring a history, and histories can come back to haunt you. And for Donald Trump, who I guess is, about 68 or 69 years old, to have sat there on Sunday saying he wasn't sure who David Duke was or what he represented, and he needed to find out more about the group, was simply hard to credit.
But what's the point? What's the point of it? I'm not being confrontational. If he really heard it, which you think he had, or because he mentioned David Duke, he heard the name, and he has condemned him in the past, and his daughter converted to Judaism, his grandchildren are Jewish with that daughter.
Right.
I mean, and then the next minute he says, "Oh, I do condemn him." Then what's the point?
Well, I'll tell you, the only point I could think of when that was happening on the weekend was that there was a kind of a moment of panic. I think that for all the confidence and bravado that Mr. Trump probably is a little bit worried about Super Tuesday. And Super Tuesday includes, not that he's going to lose it, I think he's probably going to do pretty well. But the question is, will Rubio or Cruz get above that 20% threshold in states like Arkansas, Georgia, Alabama? And I think Trump had in the back of his mind that he didn't want to alienate any voters whatsoever in the southern states on Super Tuesday.
All right, I give you that,
so
Daniel.
He equivocated on the Duke question.
If I give you that, then why did he come out less than 24 hours later and say what you just heard him say?
Well, but isn't that become something of a routine where Mr. Trump will say something outrageous on television the night before or on Twitter, and then the next day more or less try to take things back and say that isn't quite what he meant? Normally in politics you can get away with being taken out of context one or two times, but you can't make that a routine of your political life, because then no one has any idea of what you stand for. And that is kind of one of the bothersome things about Mr. Trump. For all the support and remarkable things he's accomplished, why does he keep going back on the things he says a day later?
All right, so you wrote a great piece at the Wall Street Journal, by the way, where you're also deputy editorial page director and a Fox News contributor, I must point out. And it was Trump is killing Cruz. Talk about that, and I know your next piece is going to be Super Tuesday, and, he's leading in just about every one of those polls, with the exception of Texas, quite possibly, which relates to Cruz. But latest CNN poll, nationwide poll, 49%.
Yeah, I think that the person who is being damaged, at least of those remaining, the most by this phenomenon is indeed Ted Cruz. And the reason is that going back to the government shutdown in 2013, whatever one may think about that, I think the point, at least from Ted Cruz's point of view, was to establish himself as the outsider, capital O, the outsider in the Republican Party, who would be running against Washington and against what he called the establishment. And the basis for that was people's concerns about things like immigration and so forth. And so that was his strategy. And I think a lot of it was built around winning in Iowa, evangelicals, then in South Carolina in the South, and running straight across the South in Super Tuesday. That was a plausible strategy until Donald Trump stole it. He basically got into the race and made himself a bigger outsider than Ted Cruz. And immigration, build a wall along the Mexican border, make them pay for it, ban Muslims. You could not get further outside than Donald Trump, and I think he has just significantly undermined Ted Cruz's strategy and taken a lot of the vote that he expected to get.
And I urge everyone to check it out at the Wall Street Journal. Daniel, great to talk to you again, sir.
All right, good to talk to you,
Thank
Steve.
you. All right, up next, former federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy. Don't go away.